Traders, investors, peeps, we are back in another one. I am excited. I have never been more bullish on Hyliion in my entire life. We got a lot to unpack. This is a presentation he did. It's like 16 minutes long, so I'm going to gloss over some stuff, summarize some stuff. Let's jump in.
To mention a few of them, one is that our approach is we're focused on the powertrain. So we're not trying to reinvent the entire vehicle. We really see the area for opportunity, redo the powertrain of the truck as opposed to the whole vehicle from the ground up.
Now, this is genius in my eyes. I heard lots of people kind of putting their nose up to this. And, I mean, guys, this drastically increases the speed of the design cycle. It reduces the cost. And at the end of the day, who cares? Okay? It's like what? You're going to design your own chassis and axles and wheel, like the whole thing. That has been unchanged for a long time. You're not going to improve that a lot. So why would you attempt to improve the thing that is going to be the game changer, and that's the powertrain? So great play, not worried about this, love it. And also, mind you, if this isn't already factored in, this is going to really speed things up if they weren't planning on doing this all along. You understand? So yes, tight.
Coming forward, you've got plug-in, hydrogen fuel cell, and natural gas electric. And so as we look at these three types of solutions, the way Hyliion is kind of approaching is saying, the number one most important thing is infrastructure, because when you take an electric truck, you really need to consider where are you going to refuel or recharge that vehicle. And from a practical standpoint, how are you going to do it? And once you can figure out infrastructure, then you can start looking at things like what's the actual cost of operation and what are the actual emissions that come from the vehicle. So to kick things off, we wanted to share a quick diagram here that shows what's kind of the progression of actually making this fuel, right? Because we hear a lot of times that, if you run a fully electric truck that plugs into the grid, it's a totally clean and, low-cost solution. And while that can be true if you're sourcing all of your electricity from wind and solar or hydro, the reality is across the U.S., not much of the fuel actually comes from those clean renewable sources. A lot of it is coming from coal, a lot of it from natural gas, and some even from nuclear, right? I mean, it's a big spread across the U.S. of where the electricity comes from.
And so this is awesome. I love this. It really drives the point home, and it kind of clears up the misconception that lots of these other alternatives, these green alternatives, are really green, and they're not. There's green aspects and elements, but it's not truly green. Regardless of it being green or more green, money, baby. That's what business cares about.
So the other big benefit with RNG is that, as mentioned before, that gets pumped right into the pipelines. And we've got a natural gas pipeline infrastructure set up all across the U.S. And, many of the states here in the U.S. have quick and easy access to natural gas.
The product is amazing. The infrastructure is there. The cost to set up these stations is minimal because the said infrastructure is there. I mean, it just gets better and better, man. And we saw all these different partnerships with FJ Management and stuff, the ANG. I mean, the infrastructure is there, peeps, and they are partnering with people that are already capitalizing on said infrastructure.
There was a study that was actually done that showed two mega chargers, the Tesla chargers, to be able to recharge their electric semis when they're doing a fast recharge, actually consume more electricity than the entire Western Star manufacturing plant. So two rechargers is more than an entire truck manufacturing plant. And so that's putting these vehicles on the grid is a huge demand load for being able to supply that much electricity.
So Tesla is not out, but this is a huge hurdle for them to have to overcome, right? So it's going to take time, and that gives us time to stack chips and to get a better position in the market.
Right now, there is not a pipeline set up across the U.S. for hydrogen. So either that infrastructure to be able to move hydrogen around would need to be made, or we're going to be shipping it in trucks, or we'll have to produce it locally at the fueling station. So a lot of infrastructure costs and setup that still needs to happen in order to make hydrogen achievable.
If you made it this far, you're a rock star. So this last slide is pretty much talking about how, like I said, the savings are here. Now, even the projected prices of electric and hydrogen aren't even comparable, and electric is twice as much at that price rate. And that's assuming we can't get the price down further than that estimate right there of $1, which is what it's currently at. Now, the other big benefit and the point of this slide that I want to drive home is, again, the infrastructure is there. Look at that little chart right there in the middle. There's stations set up all over the world, and the price and the cost of setting up comparable infrastructures for these other alternatives is very expensive, and moreover, they're not here yet, right? So we have beat them to the punch, and we have time on our side to benefit from this.
The infrastructure is already set up across the US here. So there are over 700 stations already out there. And these stations are already designed for Class 8 semi trucks.
And so I'm going to leave you with this final clip here. Like I said, I've never been more bullish. But talking about Amazon and obviously lots of other companies are going to follow suit. They're all following this kind of zero emissions by these different dates, right? So don't be surprised if you see other big companies doing the same thing. I mean, there's lots of benefits to it.
Pre-order customer is Agility Global Logistics. They came in and placed a 1,000-unit truck order. And the reason I wanted to share Agility was because they had a very fascinating and unique way of looking at clean, renewable fuel sources to run their trucks. So for them, they are shipping goods for a lot of the well-known B2C brands that are out across the globe. And for Agility, they looked at it as they could shift to the Hypertruck solution and have a significant reduction in the amount of emissions that comes from that vehicle, if not even get it to net carbon negative. And then they can pass those emission savings, those credits, onto the actual fleet or the actual company that they're shipping. So that way, let's take a company like Amazon, for instance. They've been very vocal about how by 2040 they're going to get to net carbon zero for their entire company. Well, if an Agility was shipping for Amazon, they could take those emission savings and actually pass it back for Amazon to be able to take credit for it to move towards their climate initiative. But then for Agility, being the actual shipper,